Positive interest rates make us poorer. The flaw in the system. Written and read by Bernhard Kutzler. Where I live in Austria, a pound of organic potatoes costs around $1. An hour with a business lawyer costs up to $500. Imagine an organic farmer driving his tractor and a trailer with 1/4 ton of organic potatoes to his business lawyer. He dumps the potatoes in the garden for an hour's conversation with him. That's crazy. Maybe you want to argue that the lawyer had to invest in his education, but that cannot justify this extreme disproportionality. The organic farmer also had to invest. He had to learn how to manage the farm. Perhaps he had to buy land or machinery. Not to mention the many hours he must work, which usually far exceed the workload of a lawyer. Another example, 1 hour with a car mechanic costs around $100 or 100 pounds of potatoes. The system has gone completely off the rails. In the following, I explain why. For us to thrive as a species, we must work together. This includes exchanging products and services. If X and Y want to exchange something, they can meet and do so. But if X needs something from Y, Y needs something from Z, and Z needs something from X, personal exchange is very cumbersome or even impossible. Money is supposed to facilitate exchange. Suppose X has a sum of money. X receives products or services from Y in exchange for the money. Y receives products or services from Z in exchange for the money. Z receives products or services from X in exchange for the money. Now everyone has what they need and the money is back with X. It was just a means of transportation. But what if X has a pound of oranges and Y has $2? The oranges lose value over time because they rot. Money keeps its value or, with positive interest rates, even increases in value. This gives the owner of money an advantage over the owner of the oranges. Positive interest money is not a neutral means of transportation, and that is the root of the destructiveness of today's monetary system. I discussed the topic of bartering in my article, Bartering Equals Deceiving. I explain why we must work together in my article, To Survive as a Species, we must work together. Suppose I take out a loan to realize a business idea. If the interest rate is positive, I must pay back more than I borrowed. Obviously, I must include my interest payments in the prices I charge for my services or products. If you are my customer, you therefore pay the interest that I pay. And since I had to pay the financing costs of the respective producers and suppliers when I bought my business equipment and any raw materials, their interest payments are also included in my price calculations, and you pay those as well. This is also a type of compound interest. So you don't just receive interest on the money in your bank account, you pay interest on everything you buy, from buns to houses. All prices include interest, not just taxes. The highest proportion of interest is in housing costs, over 75%. Overall, you pay much more in interest than you receive in interest. Very rich people receive more in interest than they pay. Therefore, a positive interest rate means a continuous flow of value from poor to rich. Inflation is a means of concealing this. After all, money accumulates for a few while it becomes increasingly scarce for everyone else. Since we must pay for basic biological needs such as food and shelter, this means that most people must work more and more just to afford bare survival. In this way, we become slaves to the super-rich few. The popular concept of freedom accelerates this development because it equates freedom with power, and money is the most popular currency for power. I explained this in my article, "There's only one true freedom." It wasn't always like this. In the Middle Ages, there was a period with negative interest. The Bracteate period from around 1150 to 1450. People had to pay a fee to keep their money valid. One method was that they had to exchange their coins for new coins every year. For example, 4 old coins bought them 3 new coins. Hoarding money was therefore not lucrative, and people were motivated to spend it. Money circulated and thus fulfilled its purpose. It was a means of transportation for goods and services. It is like the flow of blood in a healthy body. Positive interest rates create a financial thrombosis with all its consequences. There is also a modern example. In 1932, during the Great Depression, the mayor of Wörgl in Tyrol in Austria introduced a form of local currency denoted Schwundgeld, shrinking money. Money with a negative interest rate. The economy grew and the unemployment rate fell, in stark contrast to the rest of Austria and many other countries. The experiment attracted national and international attention, but it was a thorn in the side of the powerful. A court case was filed and the experiment had to be stopped. The German-language film Das Wunder von Wörgl, The Miracle of Wörgl, portrays what happened. Silvio Gesell, a German-Argentine merchant, described the idea of Freigeld, free money, in his theory of Freie Wirtschaft, free economy, at the beginning of the 20th century. A modern depiction is the book by Margaret Kennedy, Interest and Inflation-Free Money, which is well worth reading. Positive interest rates are linked to the social program Waste Not, Want Not. I analyze this program in my article, Free Yourself from a Destructive Program About Money.